here could join us. I think we'll probably still have a few people popping in here as we get started. My name is Dr. Simon Purdy. I am one of the program directors for our criminal justice program here at SUNY Delhi. I actually am in charge of all of the on-campus programs. So our associate's degree and our bachelor's degree on campus, that kind of falls underneath my wheelhouse. We're going to be talking tonight about the importance of education for law enforcement in particular, but really for any CJ career. And it's kind of an applicable conversation across the board. Joining me tonight, and I should probably give ourselves more of a formal introduction here. Joining me tonight is my colleague, Dr. Lindsay Walker, who is another one of our online or our program directors for our online program. Lindsay, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. As Dr. Purdy said, I am the online program director for the online bachelor's as well as the online master's program. And we're going to go in and discuss a little bit about what we do a little bit later. But I teach victimology, so I teach on campus. I do teach online classes as well and some of the master's courses. So I look forward to speaking to everybody tonight about those classes.
Simon? Excellent. Now, yeah, I'm already going way ahead of myself. I've got my notes and a board in front of me, and I've already missed half of them. A couple things before we begin. First off, we are going to record tonight's webinar, so if you are not okay with that, I guess, let us know in the chat. But Donna, I think we're all set to go ahead and hit record. If not, unless we're already recording there, looks like we are. Okay, so that's the first point that I had written down. The second one is if you have any questions throughout this, we're going to have a time for some Q&A at the end. But if you do have questions that come up and you're like, oh, hey, I'd like to ask about this, you can keep muted, but you can go ahead and put them in the chat. And if you would like to share them by speaking to the microphone later, you absolutely can. But you can also type them into the chat throughout the presentation, and we will address those. We have some folks monitoring the chat, so we can keep an eye on what's going on there. But again, we will try to address all of those questions at the end in a bit of a Q&A. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, we were talking about doing a webinar a while back, and the idea was broached that, why don't we make it a themed webinar? Why don't we talk about something that's not just here's our programs? We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But the main thing we wanted to talk about is how applicable is our education, the education you get at SUNY Delhi, to the world of law enforcement, which is where a lot of our students end up going into. And as I mentioned before, we will be talking about other areas. There are lots of other career fields that you could go into with a degree in criminal justice, whether it's an associate's all the way up to a master's degree. But we are going to be talking predominantly today about the policing side of the criminal justice system. Now, here's the thing about our criminal justice system today. This is a constantly changing system, a constantly changing structure of agencies. We have well over 17,000 policing agencies across this country. When we throw the federal ones in there, it boosts it even more. We have had a very, very long history of law enforcement and multiple agencies operating in lots of different ways across our country and throughout our communities. It has never been a static system. Now, I do want to mention here that we don't always get it right. If we look back through the history of policing, there have been plenty of moments where maybe we weren't doing the right thing. Other times we have great shining examples of when we were. But the idea here is that it isn't a system that stays still for very long. If we talk about this, and if you do end up going into a degree in criminal justice, you'll likely take a class like History of Law Enforcement, where you'll talk more about this. But there are generally accepted three main eras of policing. The earliest one was known as the political era, one in which basically we had just come out of this kind of colonial period in which we had a largely volunteer police force. And we realized that with cities, especially growing as rapidly as they were right around the time of the Civil War, that we needed large-scale police forces in places like New York City, but also in rural areas like up here in Delaware County. We realized that the growing population necessitated larger and more professional police departments, also where police officers could get paid instead of just doing it on a volunteer basis. Now, that early system did have its issues. One of the biggest ones is that we weren't paying police officers enough, so there was the potential and unfortunate pattern of pretty widespread corruption with people basically doing side jobs to make money and make ends meet. We realized right around the turn of the century, then into the 1900s, that we needed to do something a little bit more professionalized. We slowly started introducing a new era of policing, which was known as, in several names, one of them is the professional era of policing. And basically what we did there, this is when we started to have things like police academies, where we started to bring in education to the job. where we no longer just wanted a person on the streets, we wanted the right person on the streets. And not only that, we wanted them tactically set to take on any given situation that they would be thrown into. We also realized there were some issues there. This is what we were using through the civil rights era, right? We see some potentially not terribly flattering imagery coming out of there, and practices that weren't necessarily the greatest as far as relationships with communities. My background is actually researching and theorizing and writing about the role of technology in society. So it is one of those things I talk a lot about in class, where basically we mentioned this era because that's when the police car came in, right? And when the police car came in, we went from having foot patrols to basically having officers sitting in cars. And this is kind of the image of that day, in which we were, out there on patrol, but we weren't necessarily connecting with our communities. As I mentioned, it's an evolving system. We fixed some of the earlier problems. We had a much more professional police force that was well trained, had the right tactics. The kind of big theme for that time was having a person in the right place at the right time with the right tactics. That started to shift, however, in the mid 1980s through to really through till today. We have had a more community-based focus in our law enforcement agencies across the country. This turn to what we call community policing was emphasized by a reconnection between our police departments and law enforcement agencies in general and the communities that they were designed to serve, and serve being the key term there. We had kind of the reintroduction of a lot more foot patrols. We were recruiting officers more locally. And ultimately, we fixed a lot of the issues we had from the previous eras of policing. And this really is where a lot of our police departments and cities are at today, but we haven't stopped evolving, right? We haven't stopped changing in the world of law enforcement or the larger CJ system. The one thing I do want to mention here is that today we have a lot of big challenges that are facing law enforcement. Things that the old, really kind of the existing community policing model has struggled to keep up with. Things like a expansion of need for mental health care services. It is often mentioned that the criminal justice system is kind of the front line of mental health care in this country, which is unfortunate, but we are in the world we live in. So we are facing those challenges, and that is not necessarily brand new. We've been dealing with those issues for a long time, but they are quite prevalent today. We also have lots of issues with things like substance abuse, addiction, overdoses, those sorts of things, both in large cities and rural areas. I'm actually involved in a number of research projects at the moment and community-based projects at the moment that I've been bringing students into that are focused on predominantly substance use in the rural Catskills region. And what we find is that there is a lot of substance use and a lot of misunderstanding about the people who are using and the effects of it and all sorts of things like that. And that is a real challenge for today's law enforcement. Another big one, which you've likely seen in the news in recent years, is the relationship that our police departments have with the communities they serve. And we've seen some breakdowns there. We've seen some issues of an unreasonable use of force, et cetera, protests in the streets and so on. And this really is, I would say, almost a hallmark of the modern day in policing, is the need and necessity to really connect with and work with the communities that are out there. Now, here's where education comes in. Because as I mentioned before, right up through that professional era, we wanted to get a person in the right place at the right time with the right tactics to handle any situation that law enforcement was called into. But today we've realized, and this is by no means universal, I should probably mention this, whenever we talk about something like a complex social system such as policing, we are talking about something that has multiple different avenues and ways that things can look. But in general, what we're looking for today is not just a person in the right place, but getting the right person in the right place at the right time with the right tactics. And part of getting the right person there is having the right level of education. Most police departments today, and we'll probably cover this in a later slide as well, but most police departments today, from local police all the way up to federal agencies, are looking for people who have critical thinking skills. Right. In fact, I talk to police departments on a regular basis. I actually just had a student who graduated last year, just graduated now from the NYPD Academy, and he came in yesterday, and I told him I was going to tell this story at the webinar. He came in yesterday, he was all smiles, and he's like, hey, all that stuff you taught us in class about like research methods and policing and law and ethics? It's like we used every single bit of that when we were going through the academy. And he also mentioned that it was a lot easier for him because he didn't have to stay up late studying. So there's a selling point for an education there. But the idea here is that police departments and law enforcement across the country has realized that we need educated individuals who are able to think through situations, to reason through, and make an ethical decision. Make the right decision, if you will, not just a decision that they've been trained into for certain situations. There are lots of different models that this can look like. We've seen new approaches to policing start to spring up around the country. Things like different ways of especially handling things like mental health crises and having special units that are sent out for that. Having community community relations units that are going out there and doing the legwork from often retired cops in the community. And what we see is new ideas coming up all the time. And this is where education can be incredibly powerful, right? From the beginning of policing all the way up through today, we've wanted new ideas. Sometimes we're a bit resistant to those. And I think any social system that's been around for a long time has that issue. But we do want new ideas. And I will say that when I talk to police chiefs, to captains across the state, especially, what I tend to hear is, we want people who can think through a situation. We want people who know what's right and what's wrong, but also can develop the understanding of that as they enter into a new situation. So the education that you get at a school like SUNY Delhi is going to be preparing you for this new system that we're dropping people into with criminal justice. It is a different world of policing today. I know, got some pictures up here, and we have some pictures throughout our slides. We had a state trooper demonstration come in a couple years ago. They did a wonderful demonstration with their canine unit. You could go back to the first slide, and that's our canine unit here on campus who came around later. But the idea here is that all of these law enforcement agents who are out there, they are trained, highly trained, but they also are highly educated today. Most all law enforcement agencies, as I mentioned, are requiring at least an associate's degree to kind of get the foot in the door. Many are looking for people who have a bachelor's degree for recruitments and especially for promotion. Go ahead and jump to the next slide here. Again, a new world of policing, but education really kind of helps to pave the way. Oh, hey, I recognize that guy. Our program here at SUNY Delhi has 3 degrees. We have an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a recently launched master's degree, which is very exciting because we are the first fully online master's degree in the SUNY system in criminal justice. So yay to us, we got that going. Every single one of these degrees is going to put a potential recruit for law enforcement agency into a slightly different, potential for advancement and for placement. An associate's degree is often that foot in the door. This is a prerequisite for the academy in some states. Basically, you're required to have at least an associate's degree in order to even be considered for recruitment. Oftentimes, and the salary ranges here are going to vary. Again, I was talking to my former student who is now an NYPD officer, and these salary ratings don't necessarily match up with what we find in the city. But nationwide, the starting salary for someone with an associate's degree is often in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. There's some variance on either side of that. Things that you might do with an associate's degree, this could include a police officer, often at a local agency, or something like a crime scene investigator, someone who's out there kind of collecting the evidence, etc. With the bachelor's degree, though, this is really where the door opens for more career advancement and more positions. A bachelor's degree is often required for police officers who are going to be out in the field. This is not universal, but it is increasingly common in agencies across the country. At the federal level, a bachelor's degree is the bare minimum that you have to have just for initial placement. So if we're talking the FBI, if we're talking Homeland Security, they are looking for recruits with bachelor's degrees. The salary range for someone with a bachelor's degree, and again, this is nationwide, not necessarily community focused, is in the $40,000 to $70,000 range. Different agencies look different here. I will mention that like the NYPD, they're starting in about the 50 to 60,000 range. And then after 5 years, you bump up to 150,000 if you stay on the job for 5 years. So there are lots of variance here, but a bachelor's degree can help with the promotion process as well. So whether you're looking to go into something like being a special agent with the FBI, to being a probation officer, or a state trooper, something like a forensic technician, et cetera, a bachelor's degree is going to be the degree for you. I will also mention here, and that this helps with promotion. I think I've already said that. I'll give you an example. With the state police, and this is one we've been talking about for a long time, but it's still true today. If you are looking to become an investigator in the state police, you have to have at least 4 years of experience on the job. Now, those are pretty sought after positions. If you talk to anyone who's a state trooper, when those positions open, there's usually a big race to competitive race to apply for them. But if you have 4 years on the job, then you would be eligible. Or if you have 2 years of job experience and a bachelor's degree, you can basically cut off that other 2 years of job experience that you would need. So you'd be up for promotion sooner. That's a very cool thing, especially, I don't know where everyone's at as far as their career goes or things like that. But once you get into the career, you start thinking about promotion pretty quick. So having that bachelor's degree can definitely accelerate the promotion process and really open up more doors. The master's degree is kind of a whole nother beast altogether. Now, we'll talk more about the master's degree, and Dr. Walker can kind of talk you through the program a little bit. But the master's degree is going to have a lot more content, a lot more critical thinking, and a lot more applied learning that goes on. Whether it's examining, research methods and how we might actually go out and, measure something or assess whether or not a program in the field is working the way it was designed to work, or if we're doing something along the lines of, again, learning about things like the, international law or, any of the other many electives that we have in the master's program, you're going to learn a lot of very applied critical thinking skills. The master's degree is really important for folks who are looking for further positions and supervisory positions across the board, whether this is moving up to something like a police chief, whether this is moving up the ranks in like the FBI or the Homeland Security or federal agency. The master's degree is a very sought after degree because basically it shows that you have a vast amount of critical thinking skills, that you can not just do the job, but you can also lead other people who are doing the job. So whether you're looking to go into becoming a researcher, someone who is an advisor, a supervisor, et cetera, a criminologist, or a criminal profiler, which a lot of our students end up talking about, it's a tricky job and you got to get a lot of education in there. You may have to go on to higher degrees past the master's, but that is, again, that step in the promotional ladder. I'll give you an example with the master's degree promotional things. With the FBI, for instance, you are required, just like with the state police, before promotion, you have to have a few years on the job. So with the FBI, I believe it's 2 years. If you have a master's degree, you at least cut that in half. So you're down to 1 year of on-the-job experience before you can be up for, no, actually it's not up for promotion. It's to be actually hired in the first place. So a master's degree can basically put you at a higher rank when it comes to those, especially civil service based jobs. So we have a lot to offer in these educational degrees. And in each one of them, you're going to be learning about not only what this CJ system is all about, but also how to operate within it, how to make choices within it and decisions, and how to apply all of this stuff into your future careers. So education, and again, this is not necessarily a historical, caveat here. This has been consistent throughout the history of policing. Education is a valued element of the law enforcement career. We want people who know how to think through these situations, and all of our degrees are designed to get you there. All right. I've been talking for a while here, but I'm going to go ahead and just briefly go on here, and then we'll start talking a little bit more about what our degrees actually look like. And remember, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. One thing I do want to talk about here is, why would you choose SUNY Delhi? This is our webinar. This is, we're hoping to get people into this program as much as possible, but we also want you to have more to consider, to kind of chew on, if you will, as you make this decision. SUNY Delhi has a lot to offer when it comes to, getting that education, which is going to make a difference in your career. First and foremost, you are going to be learning from people in a hands-on way from folks who have this experience. Whether this is someone who is a former law enforcement officer, people who are former and active attorneys, researchers, et cetera, they're going to be in the classroom sharing with you their wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience. This is important. Some programs are built slightly differently than ours, but we do have a highly credentialed set of professors who are, really, they've got tons of really awesome life experience, from being, again, former district attorneys to folks who are actively practicing or out in the field as a law enforcement officer. We bring them in and have them share those experiences and that knowledge with you. This is important in that we also do it in a very small classroom. Whether you're online or on campus, depending on the degree, you're not going to have a super huge class. The largest on-campus class that you're ever going to sit in is about 30 students. The largest online class is about 18. The goal here is to keep those class sizes small, and this doesn't mean it's perhaps not even the most efficient way to do it, but it's the best way to do it, because what it does is it gives you the most one-on-one time with those awesome faculty members, right? If you have questions, you're not going to be lost. You're not going to be a face in a giant lecture hall or one of 100 students in an online course who doesn't know the professor's name, right? You're going to know the professors are going to know you, and you get to build that relationship and really learn a heck of a lot more. We also offer a lot of different paths through our degrees. This is a very important thing as well. We know a lot of you, and again, hopefully we can go around and see what kind of questions you have later. Some of you may be already in your career and you're looking to come back and get a degree like a bachelor's or a master's. And the education and the paths that we offer here are very customizable. You can do them online, you can do them on campus, and we have those options. So especially for people returning, that you can do this stuff kind of at your own pace. We can talk about this a little bit with the masters, is that if you don't want to do, say, full time, you could come and take like one class a semester. We have a couple folks who are doing that right now through our program. They're working in the field right now, and it's a lot of work to take classes, but they are working through it in a very customized path. So we have lots of different options there to work through. It's not just one size fits all. We do have a very close-knit community of both students, faculty, and staff here at SUNY Delhi, and this is found whether you're online or on campus. Our professors, we talk to each other all the time. We know what's going on in classes. We're on the lookout for issues that students might be having so that we can offer the right supports in the right places. We also have lots and lots of support services, from writing tutors and math professionals all the way down to peer advocates and peer tutors in our resident academic or Resnick Academic Achievement Center. We have lots and lots of support services that are out there to help our students. And that close-knit community, you're going to be with pretty much the same group of students in your classes throughout your degree, your cohort, if you will. And you get to know those folks really, really well. Again, and this even happens online, and it might be kind of silly to sound kind of silly to think, oh, we're going to form relationships online. But we do. I have two students in one of my master's classes now who, when they were giving one of their first week's assignments, they were like, oh my gosh, we're in the same class again. And they were both really excited. And we build that sense of connection throughout your education here. So you're going to be interacting with one another, with your fellow classmates and your peers, and with your faculty members. And I really think that puts SUNY Delhi at a very high level when it comes to the quality of the education that you're going to be getting. Again, lots of other schools, you're going to kind of be lost in the crowd. Okay, I'll talk through some of this, and Dr. Walker can talk through perhaps the online programs here. Let's talk just a little bit about what our degrees actually look like. The associate's degree for criminals justice is an on-campus program. This is a 2-year degree, so you do your freshman and sophomore year on campus. With the associate's degree, and you're taking a lot of the intro level coursework, getting a lot of your general education electives out of the way. You're basically getting that kind of intro to criminal justice, plus a bit more of the application like in your second year. With an associate's degree, as we've mentioned before, this is kind of the foot in the door. We have a lot of students who end up finishing their associate's degree and they transfer directly into the workforce. I have one who just graduated in the spring. We would love if they came back for a bachelor's degree eventually, but he wanted to go off. He's currently, I believe, working with one of the nearby county sheriff's departments, and he transferred right into the workforce with the associate's degree. And I should also mention here that we do have the opportunity for internships, which is a very cool thing, especially since we have awesome connections here at SUNY Delhi. And that gives an additional level of on the job training, but also that hands-on experience that can really shine through. So a lot of our students who end up in the internships end up going on to work for those same agencies. We have a lot of students then who go into the workforce, and then eventually they might want to come back and finish up a bachelor's degree. If you do decide to finish up to do a bachelor's degree, you can either do it as what we call our 2+2, do the associate's degree and then finish up with the bachelor's, or you can do it all 4 years right on campus. I'm going to kick it over to you, Dr. Walker, to talk a little bit about our online program and what that looks like with those final 2 years of the bachelor's.
Yeah, perfect. So, one of the great things is sometimes those who are in the associate program on campus will end up going into the academy, or again, going into that workforce, and then decide that they want to take 1 or 2 classes online, which is really helpful if you do have a full-time job, or, just want to go online after you enter into the academy. So our online program, is very similar in feel to being in person. Again, as you already mentioned, the classes are small. There's only 18 students max in online classes. And most classes are set up where there's discussion boards. And so students are interacting with each other on a regular basis. So you do get to know the members in your cohort as you go through the program. And you also get to know the professors as well. Many professors do provide video lectures, so you can see who they are, you can interact with them as well. So even though it is an online program, classes are asynchronous, it does feel like you are connecting with your classmates in the online program as well. So one option is to do the completion for the online. And I kind of want to transition into the master's program because in a way it's very similar feeling. Our online master's is asynchronous, just as our bachelor's is. But there are discussion boards, classmates, like you had already mentioned, are getting to know each other and working together towards their degree. As you've already mentioned before, it's the first fully online master's program in the SUNY system, which is great. And the one really nice thing is that they are manageable 7-week courses. Students can take these courses at their own pace, so you can go full or part-time. Part-time is maybe 1 or 2 courses a semester, and then 3 courses would be full-time. So one can work at their own pace. If they're in a work, if they're out in the workforce, taking one part-time might work for them. But if somebody wants to complete their degree in possibly in a year, they could take the full classes. So it's very flexible. There's for the master's program, 33 credits are needed to complete the degree. There are the core courses like seminar and research methods, but a lot of the electives are tailored to individual interests. So for instance, we have a Homeland Security course, we have juvenile justice and corrections, policing methods. So really what the student is interested, it can be tailored around their individual interests and needs. And again, they're manageable 7-week courses, which works for everyone. And as you've already noted, you can become a criminologist, a special agent, a victim advocate. And we also bring in faculty that do come from the fields that have that experience, just as in the bachelor's program. So.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. I do want to mention one other thing here, and this applies both to, applies across the degrees, is that we do give credit and allow for credit from a police academy. So if you are already in the career field, whether that's police academy or corrections academy that you've gone through, we can credit up to 15 credits, which if you're in a bachelor's degree is a full semester, to you for basically college credit. So we allow for that, and we do encourage that to be used, because we know that folks who are coming in, especially with that academy and kind of real life experience, there's some classes they won't have to take, some of those intro level courses. So we are able to and very willing to give credit for those types of life experiences. So that would be one thing to talk to the admissions folks about as you're on your way in, for sure.
And just to add on, for the master's program, one of the nice things too is that we can take up to 50% of previous credits. They may be transferable. So if you already have a couple of classes and want to transfer them in, that's always a possibility, and that will help expedite that degree process. So
yeah, absolutely. And we are a very transfer friendly program and a very transfer friendly school. We got lots of support services for students who are coming in from another college, and we do accept lots of credits from lots of colleges. So it's a very nice thing, especially if anyone here is already in a program somewhere, and maybe you had some credits from a few years ago and you'd like to continue on. I do want to mention one last thing about our educational programs here at SUNY Delhi, and that is that we do offer what is known as a 3+3 law school program. This is actually really cool. We started this a couple years ago. We are in partnership with the Albany Law School in Albany and the Western New England School of Law, which I believe is in Massachusetts. And basically what we are doing is those students who decide that they want to go into a career in law, so becoming an attorney, working in the court system, eventually becoming a judge, etc. If that's the path you want to take, and I should mention here that often you don't know that's the path you want to take until you sit in that law class and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I give an example of this. We had a student who was dead set on going into law enforcement. He came in, he's like, I'm 100% going into law enforcement. And he did his internship with a local law office. And he came back from that. He's like, oh my God, I want to be an attorney. So you never quite know where you're going to go. And I will mention this with the advisement part, is that we are encouraging our students to explore, to do those internships, to, take those classes that they might not normally take, so that you are getting a broad breadth of information and knowledge. So you never quite know when that flame is going to be lit for education. But with this 3+3 program, it's a very cool partnership. with these two law schools. And basically what it allows you to do is, if this is often done for students who are in their 4-year bachelor's program on campus, you come in and you take your first 3 years at SUNY Delhi. So basically freshman, sophomore, junior year. And then your senior year, you complete while you're in law school. So you have to keep your grades up. I believe it's is it a 3.0 that we're looking for. And you have to pass the LSATs to get into the law school, but it's a pretty seamless transfer into the law school once you've done those things. And then if you are there, you will finish up your coursework at the law school, and it'll transfer back to SUNY Delhi to finish up your degree. Basically what this does is that you get a bachelor's degree in 3 years and then a law degree in 3 years. And the nice thing is that this cuts off a year of tuition. Law school is typically 3 years, but a bachelor's degree is typically 4. So if you can basically skip your senior year and not have to pay tuition to SUNY Delhi, you're saving a fair chunk of money. And this is a program where we have a lot of students right now who are taking advantage of, and they're very, very excited. And this program is a time saver, a money saver, and a really cool way to get students into an exciting and in-demand career field. So again, I know we're talking about law enforcement predominantly tonight, but again, you never quite know. You'll probably be pretty inspired by some of our law professors for sure. All right, we can talk more. We certainly can have a Q&A here now. I think we'll open up, and I think we may already have some questions in the chat. But I do just want to mention here real quick that we are welcome and open to having you guys reach out and talk to us. I know that our admissions folks have already been in touch with you. You've already got emails, and that's how they, set up your participation here tonight. So you can always talk to them in the admissions office, and and anyone who's been in touch with you there. But if you would like to reach out to us, either Dr. Walker or myself, we do have our contact information here. So feel free to take a screenshot or copy that down. If we were in person, I'd give you a card. But feel free to do that, and you can send either of us an email or give us a call anytime. Ask us any questions that you have. If you would like, I know, especially if you are interested in coming to any of our on-campus programs, I would love to have you up here to come and sit in on a few classes, come for a campus visit or something like that, to kind of see what that classroom experience actually looks like here. So feel free to copy down our information and contact us with any questions anytime you have them. Okay, I think we have a few other people who would probably like to say a few things from admissions and stuff like that, but let's go ahead and open it up to our chat. Do we have anyone who's monitoring the chat? Want to read out some questions, and we'll see what we can get you.
There are some questions coming in, Simon. Can you see
Excellent.
the chat?
Yep, I can see a few of them.
Okay. You want to start with Lorena?
Sure, absolutely. So we've got a question here. If we're looking at the chats, let's see. Does the master's program offer any concentrations? Dr. Walker?
So we don't offer any concentrations, but all of the courses are tailored. So the elective courses are really tailored to what you would like to study. So you need 12 administrative or 12 regular electives, and then 9 administrative of justice electives. And so between those, you can pick and choose the courses that are being offered that tailor your individual needs. So yeah, it was just put up the different electives that we have, but some juvenile justice, homeland security, if you want to do advocacy, crime victim studies, mental health. So you can pick and choose which electives you would like to take as long as you reach the number of electives that you need.
Absolutely. I also want to point this out just for master's degree programs in general. I know that some do have concentrations, but most do not. That is typically something that you'll find in like a PhD program, where you'll have a specific area that you concentrate in. So this is pretty kind of the pretty common thing for the master's program. But it is very cool here that we offer so many electives in those areas that are kind of, again, tailored to your interests. All right. Let's see. Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about things like financial aid, scholarships, and stuff like that?
For everybody who's on the webinar, I'm Mark Sullivan, the Vice President for Enrollment Management, and we just had a meeting with our senior finance team today, and we're instituting scholarships for our MS in criminal justice and also for our online degree completion program in criminal justice as well. So probably in the next 2 weeks, we'll be announcing the type of scholarships, the dollar amounts, both for the master's program and the online degree completion program. For the campus-based ones, we have what we call 3 scholarship tiers: the presidential scholarship, residential scholarship, and merit scholarships. So if you're interested in the online programs, I would get back to me in about 2 weeks. Obviously, scholarships are based on need and also your merit at this point in time. So we are going to be offering Financial aid is not possible for the masters unless you're a veteran using your GI benefits or active duty or reservist using your TA benefits. But we believe that the scholarship will lower your costs. But it's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And I should also point out here, and we had talked about this, and it was again on my list. We should mention that we are a very veteran-friendly campus, and active duty service member campus. I've got a number of students who are in our classes right now on campus who are active duty in the reserves. So we are a very very military-friendly campus, and we have lots of supports out there for our military students and veterans. So definitely good things. A lot of folks who are going into law enforcement may have that military background. So we have that support system there as well. I'm going to go back here real quick. Osman, I believe you asked a question about going full-time. Full-time in a master's program, and this is pretty universal. Full-time isn't 12 credits. That's full-time for a bachelor's degree. Full-time for master's is 9 credits. So if you go full-time with 9 credits, that would be basically 3 classes per semester. You can finish up the master's degree in about a year. That's how it was designed. So basically 4, maybe. Well, no, I'm sorry, Lindsay, that'd be 2 years, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And there are some who do take 4 classes.
Okay.
If you're going full time and you want to take 4 classes, you can finish it as quickly as a year. That's kind of what we put the program at, to finish it within a year. If you bring in any other master's credits, that also helps you go a little bit quicker. But again, it just depends on how many courses you want to take per semester. It's at your own pace.
We've got a question about graduate internships.
I got a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Osman. Yeah.
So I want to make sure I heard that right. So it's actually 9 credits. You said it's not 12 like a bachelor's or associates. And that if I were to do 3 classes, which would be 9 credits per semester, you said a year or 2 years, I would probably get that done with.
So it will take about, if you come in with no credits, it will take about 2 years if you just do spring and fall classes. But
I'm
there
not gonna
are
be
some that will be
transferring-
finishing it up in a year.
Will I not be transferring the credits that I've earned the entire time right now from, the associates with SUNY Schenectady, then now the bachelor's, which I'm doing right now through Delhi?
So
Yeah,
those
so
are
those
a
are
different degree.
sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Lindsay.
Those are different degrees. And so when you start in as a new master's student, it will basically be like you will have 0 credits going in, but you'll have earned your degrees, but you'll be starting as a new master's student unless you've taken master's classes elsewhere.
Okay, now I got it. Okay, so coming in with no master's credits at all, period, which would be my case, because I'm going to be upfront. I haven't taken any master's program classes, be it SUNY Delhi or outside SUNY Delhi. I've just been working on my bachelor's the last 2 years now with SUNY Delhi.
Yep. So you would come in as a new master's student and you would come in with 0 credits starting out, and then you would have to earn 33 credits to graduate with the program.
Okay, so within a year, 2 years, okay.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Osman, for your question. Next one down, we've got one from Michelle. Is there a graduate internship for the masters?
So there is no internships. We do bring in credits if you've earned outside MS credits before, but we do not require an internship.
Yep. And the other thing there is using something for, and this is something that does apply to our bachelor's degrees. We do have internships there, but with the master's, we don't. However, again, if you have something like an academy credit, and this is something, if you think you've got job experience or things like that you think might count for credit, definitely talk to admissions. We can't guarantee anything, but if it is academy credit that you're bringing in, we can do that. Let's see here. Okay, we've got some of those questions answered. Do you want to take, Donna, do you want to talk a little bit more about the prerequisites for the bachelor's and answer to that question?
Yeah, I did answer that question. You do need a bachelor's, but it does not have to be specifically in criminal justice in order to get your master's. I think that does just kind of answer the question.
Yeah. The next one here, Osman, is this, you want to ask your question if you want? Yeah, go ahead.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Donna, do you want to take that one?
I think it's in regard to scholarship again.
Yeah, or just cost of the program in general, like semester costs, credit costs.
the cost of the entire program, and then I know Scott said earlier that he can't give out an amount yet on the scholarships because he said that in the next 2 weeks he'll have like exact numbers. But what would be like a ballpark estimate, like in the past when these scholarships were issued, or are these scholarships like completely new? They were never done before.
They are new, Osmond, and what we're looking at is for the online degree completion program, a merit scholarship of about $1,000. And then for the master's program, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 that would be paid out over the course duration. In other words, as you take each course, the concept of the scholarship is we would prorate the scholarship and reduce your tuition costs over the course of your duration of the degree.
Okay, makes sense. So what is the cost of the entire program then?
Well, number one, Donna can cover our tuition costs in state. We're assuming everybody that's on the webinar is in state.
Yeah, I live in New York State. Yep,
Okay,
always
very
have.
good.
Yep, actually, and for New York State, graduate tuition with taxes and fees is a little under 500 a credit, and you'd need 33 credits. So you can actually go by based on how many credits you need if you're not transferring any in. But we do actually have a chart right on our website. If you just put in the search bar tuition and credit, it'll bring up, the chart is right there. You just click on graduate and it'll show you the rate right there.
I'm sorry, that confuses me.
With our financial aid, if you're a student, you already know this, but they have a website where you can talk to them about any kind of, what kind of aid's available, and they're happy to talk with you.
Well, I already spoke with them in New York State TAP. I mean, that only goes up to the 4-year program. And so does, I believe, FAFSA, if I'm correct about that too. FAFSA, I think, doesn't even help out with masters. Neither does TAP, because I already spoke to TAP. But what is the cost of the master's program, though? That's what I'm trying to ask.
It's 33 credits times the cost. I can go in and find it for you and do the calculation. Hold on, I'll do that.
Okay. Sorry, I don't want to cause a holdup, but I would like to know up front.
Yeah, go to the next question. I'm good.
Thank you.
And Osmond, there are ways to finance it through private loans for graduate school. So, there's Sallie Mae, other institutions with, fairly competitive interest rates, provide private loans.
True, that is another option, student loans, but I mean, not trying to go off on a tangent, but Sallie Mae and Freddie Mac, I mean, I just wouldn't recommend that. But I know what you mean, though. There's another option, loans. And then there's, again, the scholarships, though, which the numbers will be released later on. But thank you, though, Scott.
You're welcome. All right, Donna, what's our total cost of?
Yeah, I got the calculator out. 1 second. So with taxes and fees, and 17 in state, 17. Oh, sorry. I'm not good under pressure.
Math under pressure, right?
It's $488 per credit times 33 credits, $16,104 with taxes and fees.
16,400, you said?
$16,104.
Oh, okay, got it. 16,104. Okay, and then as Scott said, though, if I get the scholarship, though, he says as in pro rate, as in, so it's 16,104. You mind just further elaborating? I'm sorry.
No, what we're talking about right now has to be approved by the College Council, but is a scholarship for a master's program. It could be nursing or the MS in criminal justice, which would be a $3,000 scholarship prorated per credit over the duration. So if you take 1 year or 2 years, it doesn't matter. Your scholarship would apply per credit hour. So if you have $16,000 all in for your tuition in state, the scholarship would reduce it to $13,000.
Okay, got it. No problem. Makes sense.
And I do just want to say, having gone through and I didn't get a master's degree from SUNY, this is actually a remarkably affordable master's degree. I know I go in personal finance or anything like that, but I know other states and other schools do charge a heck of a lot more for the per credit hour. So this is a very, very affordable degree. And again, the hope is then that helps with promotion and things like that, so it's easier to pay it off in a very, very rapid fashion. All right, do we have any other questions? Donna, do you have any other ones you have seen coming in or that you've got?
I
people
don't
might
have any other questions. I think a lot of people ask me typically, when do I need to apply? When do you need applications by? The answer to that would be like for spring, if you're interested in applying for spring 2024, you'd want to apply by December 1st at the latest. For fall applications, I wouldn't wait until, August 1st would be a good deadline to use for fall. If anybody has any questions on applications or what you need to do for the online bachelor's program, you're going to want to apply through the SUNY application that's on our website. And if you are interested in applying for the master's program, that is on our page that refers directly to the master's program, and it's not a SUNY application. It is our own application. As far as being an alum of Delhi, we will waive that $75 application fee, so please don't pay that. We are using a new application system right now, so I have been told by some of the students that have applied that they are getting a message their application's not going through, but it is in fact going through. So that's a glitch we're working on. But definitely, if you are an alum, don't pay that fee. And if you are applying for the master's program and you go to a SUNY app, you're not at the right place. So give me a call. I'm going to just put our general email down here in the chat again, and just reach out to Kara or myself at anytime you have any questions.
Excellent.
I think
All right.
all the other questions that I wanted to mention, we pretty much covered.
Great. All righty. Well, if we don't have any other questions, again, just remember, you've got the other email there. Reach out to us at any time. We are here to answer questions, to help you make this decision, to work through this process. But also, if you're kind of in the pipeline, not quite sure if you want to do it or not, if you just want to, sit down and have a conversation with any of us, we'd be more than happy to do that. So do feel free to reach out to any of us at any point. And we, that's what we're here for, is to work with you both in the degree and, in making those decisions. So thank you all for coming tonight. And I'm going to go ahead. We can kind of sign off there. We can stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any other questions. But thank you all so much for coming out tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and happy Thanksgiving as that's rapidly approaching here.
Thank you so much for everything, Simon. Thank you to Professor Walker and Scott and everybody. Thank you. And thank you too, Donna. Sorry I put you under pressure there.
No, it's all on the website. I just, fumble fingers.
That's fine. I know it's on the site. I just wanted to know up front ahead of time. That way I make the right
Sure.
decision moving forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
So you guys have a great night. Take care. Have a great and happy Thanksgiving.